Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm so excited to bring on yet another great improvising musician. They're so rare, but they're so valuable. They're like gems. You know, you've had to search and search and search, and then you finally find one, and they are so amazing. And I'm so thrilled to bring one of a very wonderful improviser that I've discovered quite recently, and her name is Ioana Ilie. Ioana, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Nikhil.
I mean, really a thrill. And again, when I discovered your YouTube channel, I think it was from and Blanc. I'm going to give him a plug. And Blanc et Noir, Michael Cole. He saw your channel and then he shared it on his comments section in his community page on his YouTube channel. And I saw, whoa, she's awesome. She's really awesome. Wow. And welcome to the show. And I'm looking forward to talking to you and exploring this wonderful art form of improvisation in classical music.
Thank you so much, Nikhil. Thank you. And already, thank you for all those compliments you have just
There will be more. Now,
had already in the beginning.
maybe we should start off with well, would you want to play first? Maybe do you think that might be set the tone for the interview? That might be fun, right? Maybe we should start off with some playing, and I leave it up to you. Whatever you want to play, whatever you're interested in the moment, I leave it to you.
All right. Well, I mean, you're very welcome to nevertheless give me some sort of either theme or maybe topic or whatever really crosses your mind at the moment. I like to improvise on a specific idea or
Okay,
suggestion.
so it's the beginning of the interview. I'm just getting to know you, so maybe just the start of something beginning, like a sunrise or something.
Okay, a promising beginning.
Exactly. It's like a prelude. It's like a prelude. Ooh, I feel like I'm in the 19th century. We're sitting in front of Chopin. All right, now let's start. That's great. That set the tone, and I'm all jazzed up now. So I wanted to ask, let's start at the beginning. When did you get into music? I mean, your biography, and please, I hope the audience please check out your wonderful website. In your bio, it says that you started quite young, right? 4 years old.
Yes, that's true, and that's the official.
That's the official story.
Exactly. So basically, it's really quite interesting and maybe unexpected in a way because none of my parents actually is a musician.
No. Oh,
And
wow.
exactly. Basically, my mother was the one who literally made it possible for me, first of all, to even discover music because she used to listen to music absolutely throughout the whole day, whether it was when falling asleep or when waking up, when cooking, whatsoever, there was always something running in the background. And so I can say that I was literally born into this sort of atmosphere and context, but there were no instruments available. We didn't have a piano, let alone an upright or anything else. It was literally just my mother's love for mainly classical music, but also blues and jazz, and
Right.
basically, I would personally say good stuff. But that's just my opinion, anyways. And it actually all started, believe it or not, it actually all started with the fact that my mother had this desire or this plan, this master plan of educating me bilingually. And now this is not because my mother was herself got raised bilingually or so. It was basically just because my hometown, and that is Sibiu in Transylvania, in the center of Romania.
Transylvania.
Exactly. Now you know where our standing point is.
Yeah.
Exactly. So since Transylvania has been very, very solidly influenced by, especially by the Habsburgs, there's
Right.
a lot of reminiscence of everything that had to do with their culture. Yeah, and also regarding now whether it's German language or Hungarian language. Oh yeah, very nice. Exactly. Very accurate. So that orange bit there is where I originally come from. And the thing is that that region is really one of the most, let's say, polyglot kind of region of
Okay.
the whole entire country because of its influences throughout the history. And so we
Okay.
have lots of different language schools. So some of them being even English schools, even Hungarian schools, all of this besides Romanian schools. And
Right.
one of the, let's say, maybe most renowned and famous high schools in my town, in my hometown, is actually a German high school.
Okay.
However, for that, of course, usually students enroll or get enrolled who have at least one of their parents speaking that language. So it's like it has to be kind of their mother tongue.
Right.
That was not the case with me. However, my mother saw it that far away that she already envisioned me in that high school speaking German and being all a pro in grammar and everything else. So, of course, she wanted me to take German lessons.
Okay.
Now, I know I've been already talking a lot, and you're probably wondering where does the piano come in all
No,
this?
this is very interesting.
But I'm getting to that because the German lessons were given to me by a private teacher who, in brackets, she really tried her best, but me as a kid, I really did not want to learn German grammar. Anyways, that's having said that, at some point, the teacher expressed her, let's say, concern over the fact that the lessons weren't exactly helping in any way. I was not really learning or doing any homework.
Right.
So that my mother took care that for the next lesson, I came prepared with my homework done and everything else. As a result, the teacher was so impressed that she decided, as a reward, to play some pieces on the piano for me.
Mm.
And from that moment on, something must have really clicked in my 3.5-year-old brain because I was so mesmerized by probably in the first place by recognizing the music that I had already been listening
Right.
on my mother's recordings and so on. But also probably by seeing her fingers moving on the keys and everything. And I thought, so that's where those sounds were coming from. I want to do that too.
Mm.
And so I literally hushed her away from the piano. And I wanted to try it out myself.
Do
It
you
was
do you
my
have
moment.
like you're like a child prodigy? Do you have like absolute and perfect pitch?
Oof. I mean, the answer to that question is yes, but to be very honest, I would not really call it a perfect pitch because to me, there's and I have experienced already so many differences in how this perfect or absolute pitch is actually being expressed, that I would say it is perfect pitch to me as long as I can hear sounds. As in, like, if I hear something, I can tell you exactly what note that is.
Right.
However, I am not able to tune someone, so to say. So I cannot give you an A.
Oh, okay. But you have it in your mind.
That's the thing. I don't think I do. I think it's just the process of recognizing it.
Okay.
So if
That's very
you could just
interesting.
play a note on the piano, I would know that this is a G, but
Okay.
I could not have sang an A for you before.
Okay. That's very interesting. So, did you get private lessons once you started playing the piano?
I did take private lessons at the beginning because, yeah, at that age, basically, no school would really take you. And also because, yeah, it's also good to still learn at home first in your own rhythm. So I had private lessons until the age of, basically until the age of 7.
Oh, okay.
And it's quite interesting because at the very beginning, my first piano teacher actually was very reluctant in taking me as a student because she thought I was way too thin.
That's the reason? Oh, wow. Okay.
To this day, I've been questioning that too. However, she did resort to taking me into her class the very next year after I had done some gymnastics and also gained some weight.
Okay. Okay. Now, did you play? Now you're a brilliant improviser, but did you always improvise and compose, or did you play? Because I know in classical music nowadays it's mainly repertoire and memorization. So did you improvise as a young girl, or did you learn that later?
Both actually. Let's start with my time as a little girl. I did improvise actually without knowing it, probably the whole time, and that was mainly because somehow I really was not so interested in following orders and like doing homework when I was a child. So what I used to do, since I knew that my mother would be very carefully watching over my progress in the piano, I would first very, very acrimoniously take care of my homework, and I would try to take care of
Acrimoniously.
it as quickly as possible. But I would nevertheless spend a lot of time at the piano
Yeah.
playing all sorts of gibberish stuff,
Right.
like basically what I was feeling like. And also what I maybe had heard before and tried to reproduce. So that was basically my childhood. And that was until the point where I did realize that it's actually quite a serious thing, and where, of course, practice also took a totally different nature and developed to a totally different extent.
Yeah.
Later on, though, yes, I did also learn how to improvise. And by that, I really mean that I learned in the sense that I had improvisation lessons.
Oh,
And
we're
I was
jumping ahead. So we're jumping. This is later,
right.
right? This
All
is
right.
no.
Right.
Now, I saw, and not to cut you off, but I saw in your biography you played piano concertos with orchestras, and you did big repertoire pieces. So you must have at some point kind of had to do the regular repertoire and learn that sort of thing. So can you describe? It says that you won a piano competition already at the at the age of 8 or 9. Is that right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
can you talk about your traditional path, and also did you have another teacher after the first one?
I did have another teacher, yes, from the age of 14, and indeed, my second teacher was very much, future and career oriented. So she really, really helped me a lot in terms of technique and practice, basically. Yeah, I had a lot of freedom before her, which doesn't mean that I didn't have any freedom with her. It's just that it was a totally different focus. And the thing is that as a child, I also used to also as a student later on, I used to start practicing very diligently.
How many
Uh,
hours a day?
it really depends. It really depends. At the beginning, maybe something between 2 hours, and at the beginning, as in like until the age of, let's say, 12, maybe between 1.5 and 2.5 hours.
Hmm.
Then later on, especially under my second teacher, definitely 4 hours onwards.
Wow. Okay. Great.
But that also includes, of course, other things like improvisation, other things like maybe also composition, basically time I spent at the piano or doing music
Hmm.
actively. And I very often used to start practicing and literally get lost in some sort of a harmony or a chord or I don't know what. Literally, I just
Hmm.
totally was lost in musical space for like 15 or 20 minutes and then realized,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
with
Can I
concern that
ask,
I should get back to practicing.
and what kind of repertoire did your second teacher make you play?
Definitely more, let's say, more Chopin and Liszt etudes.
Okay.
Definitely also, yeah, actually concertos. I think she did organize the very first concerto I had with the orchestra.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically everything from Bach and Handel to, I would say, Prokofiev.
Okay. Wow. So the whole gamut essentially. Now I'm going to jump around here. So since we're kind of in this topic of early youth, can you recommend for students like what kind of like good starter keyboard pieces you can recommend like for uh if you're teaching new students, some things can be very hard, but maybe there are some pieces that are good for beginners musical, or maybe I know some people just like they like more technique exercises. So what's your preference?
Yeah, this is, you said it correctly. It really very much depends on everybody's personality. I call me a geek if you want. I'll accept that. I think I very much appreciated um, etudes by anyone from Czerny and Kramer, and
Mm,
I really appreciated those little pieces because somehow I could totally separate them from
yeah.
the actual pieces, let's say, without
Mm,
being disrespectful now to Czerny.
yeah.
Um, However, I think there's quite a lot of pieces by both, yeah, also Bach, at times also Chopin, but definitely Haydn, and also some Beethoven pieces are surely realistic and definitely a lot of fun.
Mm,
I mean, of course, if you're asking me about absolute beginners, then
mm,
there's really also books for
mm,
that and
yeah.
everything. But I honestly had a really big crush on Haydn
I
when I
didn't.
was little.
What, his sonatas?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And what was it about the sonatas that you enjoyed?
I think I really enjoyed, first of all, the fact that they all sound so, yeah, fizzy somehow. They're just so sparkling and so good humored. Even the minor ones
Mm,
still are just so incredibly inspired and inspiring.
yeah.
But of course, I also very much liked the fact that his pieces are always so well structured,
Mm,
and nevertheless, there's always some surprises in there, whether they're harmonical or in any way melodical or just literally just a change of key, which nobody would have expected,
right.
without even a slight modulation towards it.
Yeah. It just, yeah. Now, can I ask now? Good. I'm glad you, because it's good. Maybe you could explain. Like, I bought what's this? The Mozart Händler or text. What's the difference
Yes.
between Mozart and Haydn in terms of piano sonatas? Maybe you can explain. You're an expert. What's the difference in term? They're both sort of Galant composers, 18th century,
Yes.
but in their sonatas, what's different?
Yeah, it's really not a bad question. I think I think it could be a bit easier to explain that in music than in words, but I will try my best. In my opinion, in my opinion, um, Haydn, especially in his, let's say, first half of the compositions, Haydn tends to be quite quite religiously sticking to harmonic um, transitions and usage, let's say, um, whereas Mozart very often kind of ignores that. I mean, I don't know if it's really consciously. I think it's way more of a reflex composing that we get from Mozart than we probably get from Haydn.
Hmm.
So maybe Haydn's pieces really tend to be very, very concentrated and very well thought.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas Mozart's pieces and even his melodic bar structure, so to say, is very often quite out of common, and you don't really know whether he meant it like that or whether he literally just wrote it down in between two, I don't know, trips from Salzburg to Vienna or something, whenever he had time and he was not asleep. Like, you really cannot tell.
That's
And
very
there's
interesting.
quite a few other things, maybe also such as like the tonalities used. Haydn actually tends to be very courageous in terms of tonalities, whereas Mozart, in my experience, tends to stick to the same keys.
Hmm.
But this
Okay.
is really quite a superficial
Right. I
uh,
understand.
thing to say.
No, I understand. It's a general overview, and of course, they both are geniuses. It's just different. Okay, that's wonderful. Now, I want to keep going on or your story because your story is a very fascinating one. Uh, okay, your teacher seems very thoughtful and very concerned about your career, and you're playing all these great pieces. Uh, so how do you suddenly transition to Basel and taking lessons in improvisation? Why didn't you just become like a straight concert pianist?
Well, originally that was the thought, but I mean, I really knew that I very much wanted to study abroad, um, and Switzerland, so Basel, literally proved to be the very first place that accepted me. It's
Okay.
really as easy as that. I did have some other places in mind as well, but I have applied to other universities, and Basel was literally the first one who said you're in.
Mm.
And coming to Basel, my plan from the very beginning was to complete my bachelor's degree in the first place. So that means the first 3 years of general music, uh, music learning, and piano lessons. Um, throughout throughout those years, I knew that I definitely wanted to also specialize in teaching.
Hmm.
So to get a teacher's degree, especially since in Switzerland you actually hardly hardly can teach in a music school
Mhm.
without having a teaching degree.
Okay.
So that was definitely important for me, and I wanted to have done it at the very beginning so that I can still have some time to consider any other options after
Right.
the teaching degree. And at the end of the teaching degree, I have to say that I actually found myself in quite a nebulous zone because the options kept appearing and appearing, and I realized that I actually enjoyed doing so many things,
Yeah.
not just playing in concert with an orchestra or solo, but also chamber music, and of course there was also the song accompaniment, which I also had a degree
Right.
in later on. And besides, though there were also the composition and improvisation lessons, which I was so grateful for and which really, really modeled me as a musician.
Okay, so let's talk about Basel then. Now, of course, people who know my show, I mean, that gave us Tobias Kram. I mean, that's like an amazing place. Okay, like that's the Schola Cantorum. I mean,
Yes.
that's a great. I mean, is there any place like it? I mean, in the world, and it has such amazing teachers and faculty. And you worked with the great Rudolf Lutz, and he was
Yes.
who I've interviewed before. Can you talk about that? Now, this was that sort of the beginning of your lessons in formal improvisation? And so how did you transition? Did you audition? Did you show him or the faculty there, this is what I can do, and now let's go forth?
It's very interesting because, to tell you the very truth, I actually did not intend to actively and officially apply for his class. Maybe also out of my really blatant ignorance, because I did not know that he was actually teaching there only until later. However, you know how I told you that I used to phase out while practicing and just find
Yeah,
myself
yeah.
in some human world, for instance. Well, one of those instances happened in on a practice day.
Mm.
Practice day meaning that I was allowed to practice in our teaching room. So in the room where we had our piano lessons, we all had like our slots, and I was just practicing in
Yeah.
my slot. However, at some point, I just phased out, like I said. And yeah, funnily enough, that was exactly also the moment when my professor, my piano professor, came in to take some keys or I don't know what. Anyways, couldn't have been a worse timing because he asked me what it was that I was
Right.
playing, and I really freaked out because I thought, oh my god, if I actually tell him the truth, he's probably going to think that I'm just wasting the time here instead of practicing,
No,
that
wait,
I'm doing something
let's
like
circle
this.
back to that. That's a very interesting initial thought you had, but carry on the story.
Well, I was 19, you know. Anyways, um, so, however, I did tell him that I was just improvising something and that happened quite a lot, but that's no worries. I would really get back to practice, and I was
Right.
actually also practicing the pieces before. So, yeah. And to that, he was actually quite surprised, and he told me, um, "Why don't you contact Rudolf Lutz? He's an incredible person. First of all, he's an outstanding musician, an acclaimed improviser,
Right.
composer, organist, and everything else you can think of. Why don't you get into contact with him? I think
Right.
you guys could really get along very well, and he might also be able to help you." So I did that. I contacted Mr. Lutz, and he made it possible for me to have a so-called um, like lessons of choice,
Yeah.
which were still integrated in my degree.
That's great. That's wonderful. That's awesome. Now, I want to circle back to that initial reaction you had. Now, everyone knows that there was, and then now it's changed, but there used to be incredible hostility to improvisation in classical music in the 20th century. I mean,
Yes.
just unbelievable hostility. I mean, very bizarre, quite frankly. And I guess some of that still continues today a little bit more, even though now with Partimento and Thorough Bass, there's a lot of young people are just fed up with nonsense, and they're getting very excited about improvisation because it's the heritage. You know, that's what the masters used to do. So ridiculous. But I wanted to ask you, um, um, my question was, in Romania, and when you went to Basel, did you still was there that attitude? Was that around you? I mean, was that a present attitude, or was it more? Did it start to open up at least a little bit?
My impression definitely changed. Also, after I saw the reaction of my piano professor, and especially after I had lessons with Lutz. But I do admit that sometimes I wouldn't necessarily say generally in Romania, but I did experience at times moments where I was, let's say, more or less told off for
Do you have an
spending.
anecdote that you can tell me? You don't have to
um,
mention the person, but just like kind of what happened.
to tell you the truth, actually not particularly, not specifically, but I can tell you that, for instance, I remember my mother having mentioned my improvisation and compositions to another teacher, so not my piano
Yep.
teacher, but another teacher from school, like after an audition or something. And I remember that teacher having said something like, yeah, one should be aware of how one uses their time at the piano. But if one can afford to waste time and still find time to practice, then that's okay. Just
Oh,
make sure that your daughter doesn't
yeah.
waste time at the piano. Something
Waste
like that.
time. Right. That's wasting time. Okay. All right. Well, we know that's nuts. So, but anyway, now I have a question that's related to theory now. So you seem like a very natural musician. Like you just improvise, you use the sounds. And I know I used to wonder that can't be real. That's fake. But I've met so many of you types that it's real. It's just definitely real. So my
Yeah.
question is, do you ever think about theory? Like now, a lot of people use basso continuo, partimento, thorough bass, general bass. But did you use that at least when you were younger? Uh, or is that a later thing? Or just like theoretically, did you ever conceive of that sort of thing?
To be very honest, until I came to Basel, I actually really actively learned very little theory.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean that I have not been taught theory. It just means that I did not learn it by heart.
Right.
I think it was way more of a process of recognizing patterns which I had already been accustomed to and didn't know what
I'm
name
just
to
laughing because
put
I know
on.
exactly I've heard this before.
To give you a very, very brief example of how my knowledges in theory were when I came to Basel, when I performed my audition exam
Yeah.
for Basel, there was also an oral exam, obviously.
Mm.
And at that exam, not only were there also some chords which I didn't exactly know how to
Mm.
call correctly in German, so I
Right.
mixed up so many languages from Latin to French and English and whatever. But most of the times, I knew exactly what they were asking of me. I just didn't know how to say it, and so therefore I would just say the notes. As in, like again, another example of that perfect pitch recognition kind of process.
Yeah.
So they would play some, let's say, intervals or like some chords, some inversions, some I don't know patterns, and I would just tell them literally note by note what they played.
Hmm. Okay.
And so then they told me, like I think they actually even interrupted the exam at some point, and they said like, okay, fair enough, you're one of those with perfect pitch. All right, you're in, fine.
So
But I
cool. I
still had to
admire that. That's
learn.
so cool. No, but at some point, you did, I guess, learn theory at Basel, the Schola Cantorum. They taught you how to, yeah, like you said, labeling things you already knew. Could you describe that process? Was it helpful for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can say, first of all, it has been really existential to me in terms of nowadays also expressing myself in while teaching. I
Right.
could not name any analysis in the pieces if I hadn't learned all the theory. But not only because of that, it's also because it really helps you save specific patterns in your mind. So if you
Yeah.
can allocate a name to a specific construction, let's say, or pattern that you then associate with a passage in a piece that you have learned.
Yeah.
When you see it again in other pieces, you automatically also can remember that theoretical concept as well. And so
Yeah.
it's, again, maybe for me more of this process of recognition rather than an actual cognition, but still it's incredibly important also because it helps you also really differentiate composers from each other.
Right. And in Basel, do they teach you General Bass? Is that like the foundation, basically, what they teach you? So it's like the not the way people. I mean, people today think of figure bass as Roman numerals and inversions and that sort of thing. I mean, that's the mainstream.
Mhm.
But do you use like the way Bach would have done it? So basically, more from directly from the bass, and just thinking of the bass essentially.
I actually do, yes.
Okay.
But I think that's also way more the case, especially because I'm playing the piano and because I'm a pianist, and therefore, whether we want it or not, at some point we learn to think rather vertically
Okay.
than horizontally.
Oh, can you explain? So, I mean, maybe is that true also in the I've heard that in the 19th century there's this lot more of the vertical harmony sort of thinking. But maybe just can you talk about the difference between vertical and horizontal and in theory and how you learned and how you would teach?
To be honest, I really learned it. I learned so much of it actually through experiences as well.
Okay.
And I learned it mostly from the differences. So I learned the difference from the difference itself, if that makes any sense. So basically, let's put it this way. Because I mentioned also the song accompaniment.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we talked in that course, whenever we talked about the different styles of composers, and let me just take a specific example here. Let's take Hugo Wolf on one side and Johannes Brahms on the other side. They actually lived in the same period, more or less, one of them a bit later. However, they were in a perfect contrast to each other. First of all, among themselves. So Brahms never really thought Hugo Wolf was really as great a composer as he was acclaimed. And the other way around.
Oh,
Okay,
the
so
other
the
way
feeling
around
was
too. Okay. I know
exactly.
Tchaikovsky didn't like Brahms, but Brahms is awesome.
That's,
Anyway, yeah.
that's also true. That
Yeah.
is, of course, yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
Well, however, you cannot have
Yeah.
everything in life.
Yeah.
And when we were discussing the stylistical differences between the two, we were looking very closely at how both of them use the text.
Hmm.
Because since it's a song, obviously you have some text that you make music on. And if you take Brahms, for instance, he literally composes the music based on the text, in the sense that he writes the music that he feels when he listens to the text. And then he adjusts the text to the music as he composes it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So basically for him, the music, let's put it also this way, like the vertical structure of the music is absolutely in the first place for him.
Okay.
For Hugo Wolf, it's, so to say, exactly the opposite. So Hugo Wolf would really compose word by word. And this is also one of the reasons why his songs are usually incredibly short.
Okay.
And also, if you feel like doing that, it's quite a nice experiment. If you actually take the text away from a song by Hugo Wolf and you only listen to the music without the text, you will find the music very weird. Whereas if you do the same with Brahms, you take the text away, you just have the piano and the singing voice, and it will sound like a wonderful piece of music. It doesn't even matter what kind of a text was intended for it or it emerged from, but it would absolutely perfectly work on its own without the text as well.
Hmm.
So in this example, obviously, I'm very much focusing on the text and the usage of the text. But I would also say that, for instance, someone like Brahms was really a constructor of really vertical harmonies, and his horizontal way of composing was basically in the structure, so in the
Okay.
form. Whereas with someone like Hugo Wolf, literally wrote the music for the words. So his music is based on a line, and he found the appropriate chords to emphasize that line. If that makes any sense.
No, I've learned something today. That's very wonderful. How long has this interview begun? We haven't even gotten to some of the serious stuff. I mean, this is the problem with me. So I just go off.
Maybe we'll be right.
I go off on tangents, and so okay, there's I'm interested about the lessons you took. So how did Professor Lutz actually teach you? Like, what would happen in a lesson? What was an average lesson?
I can tell you this thing, no lesson was the same. And he would very often teach very spontaneously, if I may say so. As in, like, he would really try out so many things. For instance, once he told me to improvise on his leather iPhone case, which is really as random as it gets, yeah. But then at other times he would play games with me, like, for instance, he would start a story, and I would have to, let's say, make the soundtrack, improvise the soundtrack on that story, and then I would continue the story, then he would improvise on it, and so on and so forth. And we would keep doing stuff like this. Gosh, I have so many memories and so many wonderful, I can't even call them exercises because I didn't feel like it was strenuous in any way, but so many ideas that he had, and that I don't even know whether he actually used before with anybody else. But I can tell you this much: we had so much fun in the lessons.
I mean, it sounds like this is the way I interpret it. So he realizes that he's got a very special student, and he throws everything at you. He throws every creative thing that sticks. You're like a Lily Boulanger. There's something special has walked through the door for him, and he's the real deal, right? I mean, he's a phenomenal. So did you need to have that sort of structured learning for like lesson plans and that sort of thing? Like, did you have to like sit down and say, okay, these are schemas or like sequences up? Like, did you have to learn these things? Like, for me, I need to know those things. But for you, did you already know the patterns? I mean, I'm just kind of wondering about that.
Most of them I really learned thanks to him. It's very true.
Oh man!
And believe me, like, honestly, I am so far away from being in any way even half at the level that he is at. Like, please believe me when I say that. Don't ask me to improvise a fugue. That's still years into my life, one of my biggest fears. So, of course, there are things that I also tried to learn by very systematically structuring my improvisations. Let's put it that way. And that was one of the things, one of the major things that he helped me with, because when I first came to his lessons and improvised something with him, it had maybe a beginning, but it didn't really have a structure, and it really didn't have an end either, because I could have gone on for hours. Right. And so he really basically gifted me all of these tips and all his experience in his life of improvising, regarding how to structure your improvisation, how to practice improvisation, how to prepare it for a concert. If you improvise in a concert, how do you prepare for that? And stuff that I could have only dreamed of before having a lesson with him.
Yep.
And maybe one last thing.
Go ahead. No, I just wanted to add. Go ahead. Yeah.
To mention this one exercise that was incredibly helpful in so many regards. He, for instance, asked me what I was practicing at that very moment, which happened to be the first Brahms piano sonata. And he told me, I should take exactly the same structure of that first movement, and that including the same key, the same modulation patterns and everything else. Take that and improvise your own sonata based on exactly the same movements.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, do the same in a key like A flat major, or I don't know, do it in minor as well. So literally take the same form, but change it throughout in as many possible ways as you can. And
Right.
that's one of the really, really important ways in which I learned how to structure my improvisations.
Right. Do you intuitively know things like diminution, like when you see, like for one thing that's been very helpful for me was understanding that when I see a great piece of music, I know that it's probably very embellished, it's very elaborated, and it helps to maybe look at the reduced version of it to know what the important notes are and that sort of thing. And so, do you intuitively, when you look at something, do you say, I can see what he's doing here, and these are the non-essential notes, so to speak, and these are the color notes, that sort of thing. Is that important? That sort of thinking?
Yes, it's very important, and I really make use of it a lot in my teaching as well. To be very honest, I do that exactly with those Czerny etudes that I mentioned at the beginning. I use them with lots of students exactly for this sort of scanning, I call it, like
Hmm.
score scanning. Try to look at the score and only play the most important things harmonically that you can see with the naked eye.
Okay, okay. And if that applies to all the literature, right? Basically, like you can, and for students, Czerny, I'm a big fan of Czerny, by the way. But like you for when you take Brahms, for instance, or Prokofiev for that sort. I mean, Prokofiev maybe that's a bit modern, but I mean, I'm going to ask you to play in a minute. But let's take maybe let's use something. Do you want to do something in the 18th century? Maybe let's set the tone. I mean, like, um, let's. Okay, this is kind of a bad segue, but I think we should get to some playing. Ioana, why don't you let's do something early like Baroque? Maybe that would be a fun place to start.
All right, okay. Early Baroque, so like as in like young Bach or
Oh, young Bach.
or
Okay.
or even before that.
I want Bach at 31 years old. Exactly.
Okay, I mean,
I'm
I
kidding. I'm
need
kidding.
to I
I'm
need
kidding.
to check the chronological. No,
But you know what I
I'm
mean.
gonna try
Just
like,
anything. Let's just say Baroque.
all right, good.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Very much.
The great Iona Ilie. I said that. Is that a Romanian? That's Romanian, right?
Yes, yes.
It's a Romanian name. Okay, Ilie. Now, okay, so let me ask you something about, let's talk about the Baroque improvisation. So, where is your, this is the trouble when you're asking a natural musician questions like this. It's just, it's very difficult. Okay, so like I can't, like I'm asking like, oh, what were you thinking at this point or that point? It's I know it's just really like so many years and years of playing and being used to paths and taking decisions, and it's so wonderful to see. I mean, that's the real deal. But if you could explain your thinking in a general way about your approach to Baroque improvisation.
All right. Um, so in the meantime, I really do have a couple of, let's say, connections that automatically get activated when you say the word Baroque.
Yeah.
So, for instance, there is, of course, rhythm. There is a very specific rhythm for Baroque music, whether it's French Baroque or Italian or German or English Baroque, but there's definitely always something to make you recognize it. Then there is, of course, the polyphony. And so, therefore, when you say Baroque, I'm thinking, yeah, at least 3 or 4 voices. And also, what I'm trying to do is to implement some sort of sequences, and last but not least, to really stick to the circle of fifths and to the, let's say, Baroque styled ways of switching between themes and modulating back to the home key.
Right. Do you who are your favorite Baroque composers? Who
I'm
would
trying
you
not to name all of them. So, okay, obviously, to tell you the truth, I already feel better in a day if I listen to some Bach.
Okay.
But then at the same time, I have been really discovering the music of Handel, especially the keyboard music of Handel, which is nowadays, in my opinion, not very often played, and maybe it should be played more often. I am a huge fan of Couperin as well.
The great Couperin, is it? Because is it the, I don't know. See, I'm such a newbie. Is it Louis or Francois? Which one is the great one?
Francois,
Okay.
exactly. Yes. I mean, well, okay, there's so many things I also don't know, and I also don't want to ignore any major personalities, but I think Couperin's music has been absolutely essential for the development of all of the major composers that came after him. And his music is incredibly innovative already for its time. Oh, and let me not forget Scarlatti. I
Oh.
absolutely adore Domenico Scarlatti. I absolutely adore him.
Oh, favorite Scarlatti sonata. Go, 3 of them.
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, one of them is definitely this one. And so on and so forth. I haven't played it in like so many years. That's definitely one of my favorite ones. Of course, also.
Yeah.
That one.
Number 1, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Oh my God. Okay, there's so many. There's so many nice ones. There's also so many which I never played, but are still some.
Well, it's like what, 5 million of them, 555.
Yeah. You could also call them a million.
Yeah. Now, should we go on to the Galant, later 18th century? You talked about Haydn. So now, why don't you do something, Ioana, on the later 18th century, the Galant / classical era?
Yes. Okay. All right. Any specific wishes for a key or for a character?
The character is Haydn.
Aha. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Okay.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Oh my goodness. I mean, what can I say? I mean, that's ridiculous. I'm speechless. Oh, Ioana, what in the world did I just hear? That's
I would
incredible.
really
Yikes.
argue and say that maybe that wasn't entirely Haydn and that it actually had quite a lot of influences from Mozart as
Wow.
well.
That was
I would stand up for that debate. I think it's true.
what debate is there? That is ridiculously, insanely good. What the? I mean, what did I just hear? Okay. Well, what time is it in the interview? Oh my goodness. You should just be like a permanent panelist on this show. That'd be great. All right,
It's
Ioana, I just
a
want to
good pleasure.
mention to the audience, by the way, Ioana is an incredible teacher, and she has a wonderful course on Pianist Academy, which is a course on exactly what she just did. And she'll teach you how to do this. I mean, please. I mean, after you saw that, wasn't that ridiculous? I mean, yikes. Oh my goodness. Now, do I have to be come on. Now, obviously people might be a little bit intimidated. Do you think that you can actually improvise even as a beginner and have a lot of fun with it? I mean, is this only for like concert pianist level technique, or can beginners have fun with improvisation?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, maybe even more so at the beginning, because as soon as one gets into the real concepts and learns exactly the difference between right and wrong, it gets really intimidating. Up until that point, actually, it's a lot of fun. And I can say that from own experience. So, in order to answer your first question, this course is definitely meant for beginners as well, since it comes in three different levels. And the first level is exactly aimed at people who, let's say, they can basically read some music. It doesn't have to be super advanced music reading, just so that they actually know what the scores I'm providing them with and the notes that I'm using in order to give them some tips and ideas how to start with them. And so that's basically all they need, and maybe just a little bit of basic training, as in like so that they have already played pieces with both hands, but they really don't have to be advanced in any way. It's totally okay if they only started with, like, I don't know, the very first book of a beginner's study of piano. It's totally enough.
Okay. And what about level 2?
Level 2 and after that also level 3 are in progressive difficulty grades aimed at, let's say, for instance, level 2 also discusses the structure of a minuet, and very much really the core of the classical music in its simplest form.
Right.
And so there is quite a lot of discussion also about theory, about harmony, modulations, and I do mention also stuff like transposition a lot of times, because it's basically one of the most important ways of practicing improvisation in the first place.
Right.
But it's of course more advanced also in the sense that once you start modulating, you also have to figure out a way to come back. And that's basically also what this level is teaching you, how to also use theory and harmony in order to find your way back.
Okay.
And then level 3 is, of course, can be approached by really concert pianists and everything, but it can also be approached by anyone who, let's say, wants to have a known cadenza for a piano concerto instead of playing one that has already been played. It has lots of ideas and tips as to how to also really compose music. It discusses especially the sonata and the sonata form. So it's again a lot about modulations and transposing, but it's also about how to variate your playing and how to maybe even use improvisation to practice specific difficulties and difficult patterns, technical patterns in the classical music.
Right. No, okay. You talked about theory, especially in the later part of the course. Let's talk about theory. So here, okay, for instance, in the course, there is a mention of some Galant Fonte Monte, but there's also
Mhm.
harmonic functionality. So what's your position on, like, Roman numerals, function theory? Because that's German in the 19th century. No one is erasing that history. That happened in the 19th century. So, what's your perspective on that? And anything you want, it's your answer. So,
Well, you do need it. You really do need it, especially at the specific level, and especially if you want to maybe even play pieces which are not played so often. Very often, you only get access to scores which are very old and maybe which are also very close to the actual manuscript. And you have to consider the fact that composers, especially back then, where they also hardly, I mean, they didn't have any electricity, yeah, so they had to make use of the light as efficiently as they could. And therefore, they wrote incredibly quickly, very, very fast. And um, so when you have notation which is incredibly scarce, the fact is that the composers themselves, of course, knew how to embellish that.
Mhm.
But it's really very helpful also for you to know how to embellish that, because even if you have a Passacaglia or something that's really a wonderful piece, also in Handel's repertoire are pieces like that very often, where you would have an original score of, let's say, something like this. Um, Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't really want to play 10 minutes of that in a concert. So, in order to be able to really variate your way and to make it really special, also to make it individual, of course, theory is your most important.
But wait, Joanna. So my question is quite specific. So, like, I'm so used to the North American system, which is you label the Roman numeral. You say this is the
Oh,
mediant and the. So I'm specifically asking about the comparison between General Bass, which is just the figures underneath, just the bass, and like, oh, this is the just the arrow, and this is the Roman numeral, and then this is the function. This is the function of that function. So like, what's your perspective on that?
right, I get you now. I personally am rather used to actual numerals, but of course,
You mean
I did also
figures,
get.
right?
Yes,
The
exactly,
number. Okay, okay, okay.
exactly, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But I did also get used to the functionality, like you say,
Okay.
so like dominant, subdominant, and everything else, and the use of them, especially identifying them in the scores.
Okay.
But I
But
personally,
are you talking about the scale degree rather than
yes,
the name? Okay, so you can say this
yes,
is the second scale degree, this is the seventh
yes,
scale degree. Okay.
exactly. That's also
Mm.
what you'll find in my course. I
Okay.
name them as scale degrees.
Okay. Okay, okay. So uh you okay, so okay. Theory is such a complicated thing for beginners, and it really, but I noticed that I like the improvising musicians tend to use like you say, the numerals or the figures under the bass, and that's very helpful. You find that very helpful.
I find it helpful. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Great. And that's what I expected, so to speak. So now let's go into the 19th century romantic repertoire. Chopin and Schumann and Brahms and all these characters. So would you do you have before you play something, do you have a favorite romantic composer, someone that's close to your heart?
I really identify a lot with the music of Brahms.
Okay. And why is that?
I think it's because of his incredibly clear structure, um, and also because of his clarity in the melodic line, so to say. It's like quite a lot of notes, of course, like
Mhm.
basically every romantic piece, but it all has its reason, and it's literally pillars of a building that if you took one away, the building would probably not stand anymore.
He is a great composer. So why don't we do something? And maybe that can be the theme. Brahms. Let's use that as the inspiration for your improvisation.
All right, I'll try my best.
Oh wow. Wow, wow, wow. Unbelievable. Sensational. I'm running out of words. Incredible. So good. Now that let me tie it to something maybe somewhat mundane now. I have a question. I found it useful to get ideas. If you're a good sight reader, you can read scores quite quickly, you can take things and you can learn new music quite quickly. What's your perspective on sight reading? Is it useful? Because I know there are great improvisers who are not so good at reading. They just play so everything is natural. They hear, everything is natural. but but do you find sight reading is useful?
Yes, out of so many reasons. Not only because as a pianist, you really kind of need it in order to live, because you cannot earn money otherwise at the beginning. You know, before
Yeah.
you get to be a concert pianist and everything else, and like the cherry on the top, you really usually have to do stuff like accompanying a choir, or I mean, any sort of jobs which really there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. On the contrary, they have
Mm,
helped me so much, but which is not always exactly that what one wishes to do from the very beginning.
mm,
And sight reading is not only incredibly useful in order for you to earn money, but also because the quicker you can read in advance, which is basically what sight reading is, the quicker you can also understand music and adapt to it.
mm,
And so, therefore, a good sight reader could just as well be a good improviser too,
mm,
because they have the same ability to think very further and very quickly in advance, very
mm.
far in advance.
Now, how do
So
you
sight
get
reading is very essential.
what's your advice to get good at sight reading? How do you improve?
Well, I can tell you how I really got very confident at it. And that was literally hands on, just by reading a lot of music.
Just a lot of reading?
And reading a lot of music, basically. But really, the key to the sight reading actually is that you just read it through. You're not practicing it. And you're
Mm,
also not correcting any mistakes. You're reading through no matter what, and you have to somehow still stick to your line and just get to the end.
mm.
That's how
Wow.
you train it. You do it as much as you can. Of course, there's professorships for sight reading, so it's not just what I'm saying now, but
No.
this
I'm
is
s-
the easiest way to describe it.
yeah, I'm seeing a lot of the similar advice, which is just do a lot of sight reading. Just do lots of it, and you will it will help. Yeah, I think sight reading is so important. To be a good sight reader is so crucial. Now, a lot of pianists I notice are, I mean, to be a concert pianist, you have to memorize a lot of music, and I read somewhere that Beethoven was like he didn't like to memorize his own pieces. He'd make mistakes. I can believe that. I mean, I imagine him like you, kind of a great improviser, also very creative. Okay, so that my next question is, shall we? Do you do like impressionist, like modern improvisation? Is that something you approach as well?
Of course, of
So
course.
maybe to end off, shall we do something? And I always joke, I say modern. That's like 100 years ago.
Yes, exactly.
But in terms of the tonal palette, I can still say it's quite modern. So, yeah, you want to do something modern, and who for you speaks to you as a kind of a modern composer, impressionist, early 20th century, or even today. I mean, like who speaks to you?
I really, really love Maurice Ravel.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, there's also many others. I mean, if we think of further on, a little bit further on, I also very much like Prokofiev, and actually also Shostakovich, um, Bela Bartok as well. There's so many composers I still I have the impression I know nothing about, and there's still so much to learn. And I wish the day were longer so I could learn a bit more about them. But
Now,
yes,
yeah,
you
go ahead.
can. You go ahead.
No, well, my question was, what you just said is there's so much to learn. Now, can that be intimidating for a student? There's so much to learn. So, like, sometimes there can be, especially today, with the internet, there's an information overload. How do you create a lesson plan that is progressive, step by step? Doesn't overwhelm. I mean, I know that joke. I remember the partimento teacher told me, "Okay, this progression 24 keys. See you next week." I was like, "What?" I was like, "What?" I'm a parent.
Well, true story.
I was like, what? No, but so how do you make it manageable, and like how do you get not overwhelmed?
Honestly, I really teach way less based on planning and way more based on reacting to the students. And so I really try to, of course, I do have to plan my lessons in advance a little bit and the pieces in the repertoire, but um, I need to first just know exactly how they react to what I give them. There's some students who, if I give them a challenge, they will literally eat it up. But there's also other students who will get absolutely encapsulated in their fears and they won't practice a note out of that piece. So I need to know who works by which means and how to incite them, so to say, how to motivate them. And so I try to plan my lessons in such a way that I combine teaching them and making them better at playing, um, as long as they can play pieces that motivate them and pieces that also make them progress.
Okay, that's great. That's great. What a great teacher you are. Okay, so let's do the modern improvisation now. Anything you want. Well, should I come up with a theme? Uh oh
I
dear.
think I think I'm just going to dive into it because, as I said, I know really way less than maybe
Okay,
one would
yeah, yeah.
think.
Let's go for it.
I
All
think,
right.
you know,
Let's see what comes out.
I also don't know it myself.
Bravo. Oh my goodness. That, to my audience, where's my finger? That's a real musician. That's a real musician. Unbelievable. There's certain characteristics of a real musician that I've noticed. You tell them to play, and then it's just like a tap. You turn on a tap, where's my hand? It's like you turn on a tap, and the music just comes out, and it's their music too. I mean, granted, no, that's the language that they've accumulated, all that knowledge, all that experience. Fantastic. I mean, what can I say? The great, and I'm going to say that, the great Ioana Ilie. I mean, unbelievable. So, to end off, what can we say? I mean, what can we say but go to this course, this incredible piano course, and sign up. Sign up. And where's my screen share? Sign up for this course. Subscribe to her YouTube channel. She's on Spotify. She's got her YouTube channel and her website. There's an album, right? So let's talk about your album On Cloud. Can you talk a little bit about this album, this 2017 album On Cloud 10?
Yes, this is really a dream come true for me, because not only did I get to record some of the pieces that I most love, which are the first Chopin ballade in G minor and one of the later Beethoven sonatas, but also I got to record my, at that time, newest piano composition, which is entitled The Clouds. As you can guess, it's based on the clouds. And it's a set of 10 piano pieces, each of them inspired by and dedicated to the 10 categories of cloud formation.
Oh, so there's a science element to this. Okay, that's good.
Yes, exactly.
Can you use this in the classroom?
Yes, please feel free. And actually, if you go to my website, and if you feel like also checking out the scores for it, you will actually see.
Okay.
You will find it in my exactly. Yeah, if you look at the shop, you will find it as being one of the first compositions there. And you can also see in the score the pictures of the actual clouds, so that you can actually know what to imagine if you feel like learning the pieces and what inspired me in the first place.
You are such a poet. Okay. That's high level stuff. It's too high level. We're in a different realm now. Well, Ioana, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you. I mean, the time really went by. I mean, you're such an incredible musician, a real natural. I'm so glad I found you. It's like walking in this jungle of music and then finding finally a gem. Finally, after all these leaves, it's these bugs and leaves, I find a gem. And it's really been a pleasure. I know you're really fantastic, and I really hope people subscribe to you and take lessons and buy your CD, because you're really special. And please, can you come back again? Because I would love to have you like on a panel with other greats and just sharing your opinions. And I think it would be fantastic. And I would love to hear what they think about you, because I would love to hear what the reaction is to this interview, because I think you're fantastic. So wonderful.
Many thanks. Absolutely. With utmost pleasure. You just drop me a line and
so your hometown is Transylvania, is that right?
Yes.
Is it?
Transylvania is the region.
Yeah.
My hometown is called Sibiu in Romania.
Let's end off. What's Romania like?
Romania is very diverse. It's quite a big country, and it's very different whether you go up in the north or down the south or in the center, where there's also the Carpathian Mountains. So it's got basically everything. It also has the Danube crossing it, and there's a delta as well, which is really it's worth visiting and seeing. It's got really quite a large amount of fauna and of very, very interesting habitats only specific to that region. So yeah, there's obviously lots of castles, as you can imagine.
What kind of food do you eat in Romania?
You can imagine a combination of Austrian and Czech cuisine,
Hmm.
so mixed with also a bit of Turkish food and Greek at times.
You're mentioning all these
Yeah,
countries that sound like animals, turkey, ostrich. I learned
it's
recently that
really funny.
Strauss means ostrich. I didn't know this. I had no idea. But that's anyway, that's wonderful. So that sounds I can't quite imagine that. Is that what kind of food is that? What's the most famous dish that's very identifiable with Romania?
Wow. Okay. Well, um, the most traditional dish is called sarmale, and those are very easily described. Basically, there are cabbage rolls, which are filled with, yes, exactly. That's how they look
Oh,
like.
that
They're
looks
filled
good.
with a mix of meat, usually pork, pork mince, mixed with some rice and vegetables like carrots and paprika and stuff like that, with lots of herbs as well. And then basically just let to simmer in the oven for something like 2 hours at
Two
low heat.
hours. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
covered by tomato sauce.
Oh, wow. Making me hungry. It's nighttime. This is the time my intermittent fasting is going on. I can't do it. Maybe it's the wrong conversation to end on, but
Oh,
never mind. Well,
I'm sorry about that.
the great Ioana Ilie, please support her. She's fantastic. Ioana, thank you so much for being on the show. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for having me. All the best. It's been a pleasure. Bye bye.